What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today, we're going to break down every spotlight left to come out in 2023 so you know exactly which ones to save up for and buy. We're going to talk about weeks that are can't-miss opportunities as well as which ones are just complete nonsense garbage. And we used to do this on the channel month by month, but I feel like you don't really get accurate details on what is coming ahead, what you should save up for, if you can't see the weeks ahead as well, right? Like there could be something right around the corner in week 1 of the next month, and so I felt like we should talk about every single spotlight. Now, as far as the new cards go, I'm going to lightly touch on the details of how they are and what I think about them, but if you want like a massive, extensive breakdown of every card to be released in 2023, I just posted a video before this one, which you can find here if that's what you're looking for. Now, let's start with next week. In October 10th through the 17th, we have Man-Thing, the newest card, which is Series 4, Silver Samurai, and Lady Deathstrike. Now, I'm actually a huge fan of Man-Thing. I think he's going to be a really good card, but with him being our only Series 4 card, this to me is definitely a skippable week. Just buy Man-Thing with the tokens or save up to get him with the tokens in the future. Now, when it comes to Silver Samurai and Lady Deathstrike, I play both of them. Silver Samurai is good in these kind of dependable Hella decks. Lady Deathstrike is getting better, especially this season, to combat bounce. But both of these do have optional cards and alternative options in the respectable archetypes. I think looking ahead, this is definitely a skippable week if you look at these cards and how much I play them as a whole. They're fun cards, but yeah, this is skippable. Overall, I'm going to give this a 2-star rating, especially because Lady Deathstrike does have some future spotlight caches. And the variants, I think Man-Thing has a pretty cool base variant, and the other two are just so-so for me. Now, looking at October 17th through the 24th, we have Black Knight, a Series 5 card, Stature, and MODOK. Now, the variant game on this one is fire. I think all of these are really freaking good, and for that, I want to give it a high rating. But for the average player, if you don't play discard, this is definitely a skippable week to me as well. Stature has fallen off a lot since Mobius has come to the game. And MODOK, if you're missing him and you want the Black Knight and you're a discard fan, it's like a 3.5 week. I think it's not going to be that bad. Black Knight, we're yet to determine how good he's going to be, but certainly he'll be one of the better discard options to come out. I think he has a really cool place in that archetype. But yeah, unless you're just diehard, for the average player, this is skippable. If you play discard, that's what you have. Maybe a couple golden cards. This could be a week for you. The next week, October 24th through Halloween, the 31st of October, we have Nico, Kitty Pryde, and Phoenix Force. I like to label this the fun week, right? I think all these cards are a lot of fun, and this is probably the hardest to rank out of every single one we're going to talk about today. And that's because Nico, one of the most crazy cards to come to Snap, we have no idea. She could be, and a lot of people are suggesting she's just complete trash, or she could be the next Legion and is imperative in Marvel Snap. It just highly depends on how this card's going to be. So for this week, I suggest waiting till midweek to see how she is. If you have every card, not Nico, and she's trash, obviously skip it. It's a tough call, right? It depends how good she is. Obviously, if she's meta breaking, then this is a good week. And if you don't have Kitty Pryde, she's carrying a lot of the weight. All of these also, Series 5, something to consider. The likely answer is this is a skip week, like a 2-star week. If you're looking for fun, then maybe it's more than that. Or if you don't have Kitty Pryde, definitely this could be one that you can consider. But if Nico is like mid, I would probably say that you can skip this, especially because we are going to see her again later in the year. Also, just another Chef's Kiss variant week. All right, so we wrap up October with October 31st through November 7th, and we have Werewolf by Night, a Series 5 card, Silk, and Ghost Spider. So right off the bat, if you're missing all three of these, I think this is a 3.54-star week, right? I think Werewolf by Night is expected to be a pretty good card, although we still don't know his exact finalized stats. And Silk is one of those cards that is pretty much a must-have 2-drop if you enjoy her archetype and playstyle. In Snap, there's like a few of these like small packages of cards that go into like every deck, right? And right now, and for the foreseeable future, there's this kind of little movers deck with Kraven, Jeff, and then obviously Silk, Angela, Kitty Pryde. It's a staple, and then you can plug in a bunch of other cards. Silk is a massive addition to that deck, and all of these, funny enough, work amazingly with Elsa. If you like that playstyle and you see this deck out there in the wild and you want to have Kraven and you want to utilize what I think is an extremely powerful deck, not only to learn, but is one of my favorite to play, this is a must-buy week if you're missing the cards. Werewolf by Night, we don't know his exact stats, but he's expected to be very good if you just look at his base ability. I break him down in the video, but I like the variants in here as well. And then you have Ghost Spider, who Ghost Spider is a card that I'm using more and more. I think she'll get even more relevant as time moves on, and you certainly aren't going to feel bad that you have her. I mean, she's obviously the worst pull in this month, but still a pretty decent card, finding a place into more decks. So as you guys can probably tell, kind of a garbage month, right? We need months like this, ones that aren't always fire, so that you can save up for the future months. In November, December have some must-buy weeks. We got some good things coming. I think the cards are good this month, but they're just not paired with spotlights that I like. Buying Man-Thing is probably the best option with tokens, and then pick maybe Nico or Werewolf, depending on what floats your boat, or just don't get any of those, and then just save up for these next 2 months. Now, kicking off November, we have our new Season Pass card, Miss Marvel. Gonna be an absolute insane card to come out. We have the Spotlight Week in Alioth, Null, and Negasonic. This is one of those weeks that just make me mad. Like, why does Negasonic have to be in this pairing? Now, maybe she gets a Snow Guard treatment. She gets buffed up right before Spotlight Week, and in that case, maybe it's a really good week. If you don't have Alioth, he is single-handedly going to be carrying this ranking. I give it a 4-star ranking. I love Alioth for that reason alone. If you don't want one of the next 2 weeks, which we're about to cover, and you don't have Alioth, I think this is one you highly consider. He's a great card, although he could be adjusted, so do look out for that. But if you do have Alioth, odds are you have Null, and trust me, you don't need Negasonic. So this would be a skippable week, obviously, for you guys. But yeah, this is a tough one because you have Alioth, but then you also have Negasonic, and if they don't buff her, then God, just not fun. All right, so now we're going to be entering probably the next best 2 weeks by far. And we start with easily the best spotlight on today's video. November 13th through November 20th, we have Gladiator, Mirage, and Loki. Now, this is the week you've been saving up for. There's probably no reason why you should not save up at least 4 of these caches to get this week, because let me tell you, first of all these cards are competitive, and they're good cards. If you have Loki, you get a cool variant, and you still get one of the better cards to be released that should be competitive moving forward. Gladiator, if you don't know, he's a 3/7 on reveal. He yanks a card out of your opponent's deck. If he has more power than that card, he destroys it, right? So you have good synergy with other cards. I definitely think he's going to get play in the future in a lot of competitive decks. And then on top of that, again, you get Loki and Mirage, who I think is a really good card that's kind of slipped on in Snap as well. This would be, if you don't have Loki, this is a non-negotiable must-buy week. And if you do have Loki, this is one that I would definitely target and keep your eye on. Moving on, we have November 21st to the 28th, and this is another insanely strong week that I think is going to get overlooked a little bit. Annihilus is a very complicated card, but one that I think will be a absolute staple for the Toxic archetype moving forward. One of those cards that I think is going to just rock Marvel Snap, and you're going to have to start expecting him in your gameplay. He's a 5/8, and essentially anything with negative power goes to the opponent's side, whether that's goblins you sent over to your opponent, the Hood, obviously some other cards like the Sentry's Void. And then on top of that, you get 8 power. A lot of ways to just combine the Toxic archetype with more dependability. I think he's a fire card. Combine him with Dawkin and X-23, both Series 5 staples in Destroy, and you can play Dawkin and discard as well. Surfer, I think he's going to get a lot of play moving forward. Annihilus is one of those cards that if you like the Toxic archetype, this is a must-buy 5-star week. If you don't even, I still think he's a good card to have kind of in your collection, especially if you don't have X-23. Like, if you kind of like Destroy and you kind of like Toxic, this is a great week, like a 4-star in my opinion. And the variants are pretty cool, and altogether, I think this is a great pairing of a lot of competitive cards. And then we end November with a Series 4 card, Martyr, Jean Grey, and Spider-Man 2099. We're going to be quick. This is a 1-star week, guys. Jean Grey has been in approximately like 15 Spotlight weeks. Spider-Man 2099, although better than people think, and could get a buff. They've hinted at that a little bit. For now, it's just not worth the Spotlight opening. And then, you know, cherry on top, Martyr's a Series 4 card. Kind of niche at that. So definitely this is a skippable week as we head into December. We're going to be brief because I don't know if these are finalized. And a lot of the rankings and weightings of my star ratings are going to be on just the new cards coming out, which I did the video on that. And we start with December 5th through the 12th. Now, at the time, it's a little weird that we have a new card in the Season Pass week, but that's what it says for now. We've got Blob, Stegron, and Jeff. Now, this is a good week, all right? First of all, if you don't have Jeff, he's only been in one other Spotlight, and he didn't come with a new card. So this time, he's coming alongside Blob, who I think is a fun card that could have some great decks designed around him. And then on top of that, you have Stegron, who, you know, there's other options to play, but he's a fun card at that. So I think this is a great week if you don't have Jeff. And if you do, I don't know, you can think about how much you like Blob and maybe wait for a midweek decision. If you don't have Jeff, I think this is probably an easy 4-star week, no question. It becomes a bit more difficult if you do have Jeff, which a lot of you guys will be in that boat. We're gonna have to wait and see for Blob. All right, now we have December 12th through December 19th. We have Firestar, Man-Thing, and Ravonna Rin Slayer. Now, the variants on this one as well, absolute fire. I love the art. I think they did a great job with all three of these. Small spoiler for the other video, Firestar is one of my favorite cards coming out in Snap in the next, like, 2 months. It's like a reverse Sarah Miracle. I think it's awesome. If you passed up Man-Thing, he's also in this. And then there's no way Ravonna is not buffed by then. I would like to think. And if that's the case, this is a very good week. If you're missing 2 of these cards and Ravonna does get buffed up, this is like a 4.5 star for me because of Firestar. But we're going to have to see how Man-Thing is overall and if she gets a buff. So a little bit of variance here, but just for the new card, I like the week a lot. Now, the next week, December 19th through the 26th, we have our new card, Havoc, which is one of the most dumpster cards to come to Snap since really the release. But keep in mind, he might get buffed up, and we don't know exactly how he works. But alongside him, we have Nico and Legion. Now, this is a skippable week. However, if Nico ends up being sensational and you had to skip her, right? If she's an awesome card and you don't have Legion, all of a sudden, this is a very good week. If Nico's terrible or kind of niche and just fun, and you have Legion or you don't have Legion, this is still a skippable week because of Havoc, and I'm just not in love with the card yet. If they do buff him, then maybe he's worth getting, but overall, this would be one that I just save up for the new year. And we head into the last week of the year. We have Celine, Lady Deathstrike, and Black Knight. Now, I do think Celine is going to be one of the best one-drops. I think she's got a lot of firepower behind her in the ways that you can utilize her. However, this is probably the nichest week I've seen, right? We don't know if Black Knight's insane and he's a must-have and you love discard. This is your second opportunity to get him. And then you can also get a great one-drop in Celine. But all these cards are very focused in one deck or an archetype playstyle for that matter. Now, if you plan on getting the Annihilist, then Celine is a great addition, and I would save up for both of those. And then Lady Deathstrike, we've already talked about, kind of niche as well, but is getting okay. Anyway, we don't know what's coming out in January, and for that reason, these last couple of weeks, I would probably save up. And these are going to be the weeks that I would highlight to save up for. Really no reason why you miss out on these, because we don't have an overwhelming amount of must-buy weeks. Now, next content patch in November, we're going to know exactly what comes out in January. In December, it's going to be a lot more confirmed, so definitely wait for that as well, and I'll probably release some form of an update video when that arrives. All in all, my biggest takeaway is, on some of these weeks, just wait a day or two for other people to test the cards out and see if they're going to be relevant. Or at the end of the day, Snap is supposed to be fun, so if you like an archetype or a card just seems like extreme fun to you, then get it, right? Like, don't worry about always being meta. If you haven't already, you can help support a ton as we climb up towards the end of the year by subscribing down below. Wish you guys good luck out there in this season, and until the next one, happy snapping.